Hello friends, I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. It's Friday. I have the kids this weekend. I'm looking forward to a good time. But I have good news. I played Narrow Gauge, my two-player train game, last night with a friend, my friend Ben, who is a... Ben is a gamer. And it's not broken. I was worried that it was broken, and I had convinced myself that it was breakable, and we tried to break it, and it's not broken. My main concern was that there are often going to be turns where doing nothing is the best option. And while that did happen last night, we did in fact find turns where doing nothing was the best option. It was just a couple of turns, and it wasn't game breaking. In other words, the game still progressed. There was still progression even though you didn't accomplish anything on your turn. You still got stock value. There was still a market value. You still had a sway in the game, but it wasn't broken intrinsically, right? The last round was a little awkward, and I think that was just because of my bad math at valuation. One thing I'm going to consider tweaking, and I think I need help on this, and I don't know how to ask for help on this particular aspect, and I'm not going to do it here, because I would just be explaining numbers that don't make any sense. But to give you a very broad overview of what I've done, there's no division math in this game. A lot of train games, you figure out the total company's value and you divide that by the number of shares. I don't do that in this game. In this game, instead, what I do is figure out a share value and then pay that. And so it's, this number times, the number of shares that you have. And the problem with that is the companies don't have an equal number of shares. And so the company that has 10 shares by the end of the game is worth significantly more than the company that has 4. And that's totally on purpose, right? I want the 10-share company to be worth more. The problem is, because it's got 10 shares to this company's 4 shares, adjusting the numbers for those companies means a huge swing. If I adjust company with 10 shares number by 1, I'm adjusting that value by like $80 to $100, and that's just tied to how well the company performed on the board. Tweaking that number from a $2 payout to a $3 payout is a $90 to $80 to $100 swing. That's huge. Whereas the other company that only has 4 shares, tweaking that number by 1 or 2 is like a $30 swing, right? And so I might switch to the division math. And I don't like division math, especially for a game I'm trying to keep accessible. There is multiplication math in my version, kind of. You could also just go, if you're not good at math and your shares are worth $18 and you have 5 of them, you could just pay yourself $18 5 times and you don't have to do any math. The division version requires math. And that would basically, but the difference there is I can fine tune I can scalpel tune the payouts as opposed to having these broad swaths, because a $1 bump is a huge bump, right? So I think I need to decide, am I going with the division math or am I going with the multiplication math? And once that's done, I can order the game. I can order a printed version of the game. Because I think that there is a whole lot of room for alternate ways of playing the game. For instance, I added these little bonus rolls that you can take each round, and that gives you an incentive to bid, and it gives you a special power for the round. I've also added or you can play with those where you get to keep those throughout the round. So by the end of the game, you have more power-ups, I guess. There's also various ways to play with the number of certificates that are available. Right now, it's just there's a bunch of certificates labeled 1, and those are what you use in round 1. And then in round 2, you use the round 2 certificates, and in round 3, you use the round 3. That works, but one thing that I really like and I want to play test with more is, what if we don't end the round once, normally we end the round once all the shares are taken. What if we end the round once all but the last 2, and the last 2 are discarded? That's a whole new different way of playing. Ben came up with an idea that I really love, and that is like the stalls or the packages, where instead of just I have all the certificates out and you get to pick one, I shuffle them up and they deal them out in pairs of 2. And now you have to take 2 shares. And maybe the one that you want is coupled with one that you don't really care about, but you're forced to take it, and now you have to play trains for that company. That's another way of playing. The good news is all of these things are just cards. It doesn't affect the board, it doesn't affect the market, it doesn't affect the dividends. It's just a different way of playing. And I can do all that testing after I've already ordered a printed copy. And just, and that doesn't necessarily need to be testing. That can just be alternate rules. Lots of train games come with, here's variants, like try this variant, try this variant, try this variant. There's lots of fun ways of playing this. And I think that this game is perfectly adaptable to that sort of or it is that sort of product. I've been asked recently where this is headed, right? I posted the rules to this game and Utilities Project on a private Discord for a group that might become something, right? And I was asked, where am I taking this? What is the end goal of these products? And my answer was, the Utilities Project is, I want to find a publisher for it. I think it's a very, very tight publishable title. I don't want to try to self-publish that one. It's a big scope, it's a big project, and it's also the kind of game that requires a certain type of publisher. It requires somebody who enjoys those Euro games that are pretty open information, almost completely open information, and that have dry themes, right? It requires that kind of publisher. And those publishers are out there, and I'm looking for one. If you know of any, let me know. The train game, though, I designed a game for Em and I to play. What I have now is a game that Em and I love playing. We play it a lot. Maybe Chevee Dodd LLC publishes that. Maybe I self-publish. That's an overwhelming idea, and that's a big thing in my head, right? Like that's a big step. It's a game that has a lot of printing components, but it also needs a lot of little cubes or trains. And I would love to have the little trains that Capstone has, but I don't want to steal their products. So I don't know. That could be something that I publish myself, and I'm pondering it. The last Kickstarter I did left me in quite a depressed rut for a while, but I also didn't have a support group then. I have a support group and a wonderful partner now, and I honestly think I could self-publish this, and maybe I will. I mean, if there's a publisher out there that wants to take a 2-player train games off my hand and publish it, I'm all ears. Like, have at it. But in my head, I see this being a product line, not just a one-off. I have multiple maps, new powers, new building mechanisms. I see a whole lot of potential, and I don't know. But I'm going to leave it at that. It's not broken. I'm super excited about that. I'm excited to, very soon I'm going to order a physical printed prototype so that I can stop playing with the garbage that I made, and we'll see where that heads. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you again Monday. Today's word you should know to sound smart is harangue. It is a verb and a noun, meaning verbally accost, yell at, or berate. But on that hot July day, she breaks, haranguing strangers in the street. Oliver Sacks, a British neurologist. Harangue, Harangue. Now, how do you use that as a noun? I mean, all other examples, verbally accost, yell at, and berate, those are all verbs. What is a harangue as a noun? Haranguing strangers, yeah. They didn't give me a noun example. Now what do I do?